This video is part of Nickel J's journal on building a mountain cabin. I'm going to put a short wall, in between this wall and this center post. The first thing that I'm going to address is this bottom corner of the wall. There's a heavy metal plate. This all comes out for a stairway to the basement. So there's going to be a door right here down to the basement. And the door jamb won't come out much further than about right here. And I don't want my door jamb, swinging back and forth because it doesn't have anything anchoring it to the floor. I'm going to do something to give myself a way to anchor the bottom of the wall over that metal plate. Silicone on the bottom of this plywood block will position the cutouts for the bolt heads. Now this is fun. I enjoy anything reminiscent of kindergarten finger painting. A hammer would probably also work for this. And I'll just let this sit overnight now. That ought to do it. I decided to forego a base plate on this door jamb here. I was thinking that a short little 4-inch piece of 2x4 in here, it would just break up and be problematic when I try to put fasteners in it. So I notched up my first 2x4 stud that'll go up against this beam. And it's tied against this big beam. Just kind of steps around this hardware. I don't see anything wrong with that. I'll just put some screws in it. I laid out my wall. I'm gonna have a 30-inch door here. I'm standing in the bedroom and in the doorway. Over here, I'm standing in a stairway. This floor that I'm standing on will come out, and this will be a 32-inch door into the basement. I decided to forego a base plate completely over here. I just didn't want a little stubby block for a base plate to break up when I tried to nail it. So I cut the bottoms of the base plate to make it easier to cut them off completely after the wall's standing up. And I just gave it some thought, decided where I wanted everything, and labeled the Jack and King studs with J's and K's. And I'm ready to cut the studs and nail it together. I'm probably not going to put everything on the wall. I probably won't put the door headers, for example, because it's going to be too heavy for me to lift. I'm in my 70s, so I'm going to keep it light to stand it up, and then finish the assembly after it's upright. I'll put my toe against the bottom of it and use this guy to give it a twist. Pretty handy tool. The base plate is showing some twist. It gets worse as it goes out on this end. It's out to about 3/8 of an inch here. Maybe this bar clamp will help me line up that base plate so I can put some fasteners in it. Yeah, it's closing up that twist. It looks good here. Since this base plate is so short in here and the fasteners are so close to where the edge will be, I'm just nailing this off by hand because I've seen too many short base plates split when you hit it with a nail gun. There was a little gap between the top plate and it, so I put a shim in here. And I pre-drilled these holes, including the countersink for the screw heads, because I'm right out on the end of this board and I don't want to split it. On this side, I can nail to this outside or this inside stud. So instead of my screws going about here, I can put them in about here, a little further away from this end grain. But I'm still piloting my holes because I don't want this to split. There, I feel pretty good about this first top plate. I'm gonna lay another one on top of it because it needs to be stiff enough for floor joists that will run this way. If I just had one top plate, the 2x4s could sag a little bit. If I used that nasty nail gun here, I'd probably split the top of my king stud right there. This 2x4 going in for the jack stud is both crooked that way and twisted this way. You can see how it's 3/4 of, that's an inch out up here, and it's twisted this way quite a bit. So get rid of some of the crook there. And I'll just work my way up the board here. There. Nobody will ever know this is a twisted up 2x4 to begin with. I pulled a string along my top plate here, and I can see that my wall is bowed that way about about 1/8 of an inch. So I'd like for it to be pushed this way a little bit. So I cut my top plate and I sighted down it this way, and I can see that the crown is off to my left. It's not much, but there's a little bit of a crown. So I'm going to set it this way on the wall and see if the crown may straighten that wall out a little bit for me. So the string is still in the same place, and I've got both ends of the upper top plate screwed. Got 4 screws at each end. I can feel a little overhang right here where this top plate is crowned that direction, and I've got 3/16 to 1/4 right here. If this string were right up against the block, it'd be perfectly straight. That moved over. That's closer. There's still a little gap in there. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I may play with this a little more. Or when I lay some floor joists across here for the loft, I can push and pull this a little bit before I toenail some screws on the bottom of the joist into this. It's a lot easier when the bottom of the boards have already been cut with a skill saw. Shims make a close cut perfect. That's about it for my little wall. Managed to get this little short base plate in place and anchored without splitting it. Didn't use a base plate at all here. The double top plate will do a good job of supporting floor joists without sagging. This little wall will do a good job of holding up my floor joists for the loft. I'll continue at the mill that cut my floor joists.